You are listening to the PropTech, the podcast of innovation and technology in real estate. I'm your host, Phil Russo. And don't forget to subscribe to the PropTech on SoundCloud, YouTube, Twitter, and metaprop.org. We're speaking today, Monday, January 9th, 2017, with David Eisenberg, founder and CEO of Floored, now recently acquired by CBRE. David, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You were the CEO and founder of Floored, but now that CBRE has acquired your company, you are a senior vice president. How does it feel to be demoted?
I don't think I would use that term exactly. I think when people start companies, if you ever get a chance to be the CEO of a startup, you often find yourself talking to your employees about their own equity packages. And a typical refrain from the Valley is you focus not on the size of the slice, but rather on the size of the pie. And the reason why is because in a great acquisition and a great exit for any business, it's not so much about how big was your ownership piece, but rather how big was the total ownership piece when you're an employee. If you look at sort of where employees have made the most out of their efforts, it's at the really big outcomes. I think it's a proper analogy to the impact of us at CBRE, and in particular, I think about Floored within CBRE and the people from Floored within CBRE just being part of a much bigger pie now, and with that, I think that our responsibility is going to massively increase, even over what we had as a private business. So this feels very much like a promotion, I would say. In contrast, I have many more people who are going to be reporting to me than I did prior. I think we are going to have a built-in distribution network with CBRE, and as a result, I think every employee of formerly of Floored is pretty fired up to just have a bigger impact with their work than we were having alone as a private company.
There are a lot of visualization or virtual reality startups that are out in the real estate market. After only 4 years of existence, what made Floored a breakthrough startup?
I think from the very beginning, we had a somewhat unique focus on really difficult technical challenges and solving those and building original solutions in the field of computer graphics, but later with the principles of architectural layout and even more generic technical skills like just having terrific design. I think across the board, we had a really, really strong product and engineering team that I think put us a little bit out in front of companies that might have been considered competitors. But in addition to that, I think what we did is we took a really strong engineering culture and engineering team, and we married that to some domain expertise in commercial real estate. And I think the Venn diagram of really strong technology companies and people who have spent a bunch of time in commercial real estate, that's actually a pretty thin overlap. And so at the end of the day, I think we were most highly valued by CBRE because of the customer base that we had built, the degree to which our products were being utilized by their existing teams, their brokers around the world. And at the end of the day, I think that's the make or break thing for all of the CRE tech companies. It's do you have a defensible technology that also kind of gets the industry and gets the customer traction? Because those are the companies that I think will be most attractive to players like CBRE.
You're now in a multifaceted platform of the biggest commercial real estate services firm in the world. How do you and your colleagues feel about fitting in? What are you going to be called now that there's no longer a Floored?
Yeah, great question. So we are going to be part of the digital team within CBRE's largest line of business, which is their advisory and transaction business. I'm the SVP of Digital Enablement and Technology within that group. A little bit of a lengthy title, but there's a lot of things that CBRE does, so we need to be clear about the definitions. I think one of the novel things about being a participant in the CRE tech ecosystem is that we all know that the incumbents, whether they are brokerage firms or whether they are development firms and owners, have not historically made technology a centerpiece of their offering. It has been complementary to the advisory services and to the transactional counsel and services that they provide. I think this acquisition in particular is CBRE taking a strong point of view that technology is going to be core to their offering in the long term. In the short and medium term, we have a more modest agenda, I think, of getting some wins by building some defensible technology in a few areas. But I think over the long term, what CBRE wishes to convey is that it's going to be the marriage of relationships with a platform, and that platform is going to have technology as a big piece of its offering. And I think what we're hopeful is that we will build a platform that attracts the best professionals in the world, and of course, as part of that, attracts the best customers in the world.
Conversely, one of the challenges in such merger acquisitions is working internally. How do you assess the challenge of getting incumbent commercial real estate professionals, especially brokers who are so independent, to integrate Floored's technology into their everyday work?
Yeah, really important. So one of the things I'm happy about is that over the past several years, I've spent a lot of time with brokers, and in particular, those brokers who I think are leaning into technology, not least because they know it's going to be an important part of their careers over the next 10, 20, 30 years and beyond. What we've seen from the executives at CBRE is a willingness to be open-minded about how technology is going to move the needle for an individual broker and, of course, at large for the firm. It's on us to prove the return on investment. There's no doubt about that. But I think what we're seeing is an evolution from maybe 5 or 10 years ago where a broker would say, how is this going to impact my business? Why is this relevant for me? To an acknowledgement that in particular, customers are really enjoying interacting with a technology-savvy broker. And so on the occupier side, on the investor side, which is where we started, serving our customers, we started getting some wins in terms of owners, in terms of investors and occupiers saying, hey, this was a great way for me to visualize the space, or this was a great way for me to communicate a change to my employee base. And now what we've done is we've made that embedded in CBRE's offering and of course proprietary to CBRE over the long term. So I think what we're hearing from the brokers is if this helps me win and if it helps me deliver a superior outcome to my clients, I'm going to be a user. And not only that, I'm going to be an enthusiastic user. I'm going to tell my peers about this. I'm going to do knowledge sharing at sort of company conferences and so forth. So I think we're just like witnessing in real time a changing of mindset, which is from previously resistant to now being open-minded. And we're like on the cusp, I think, of people really leading with technology as part of what they bring unique to the table.
The big service companies in commercial real estate have been somewhat slow to adopt technology. With the acquisition of Floored, do you see that now changing more rapidly?
Yes. I think that what we bring to CBRE is, I don't mean to be, boast, but I think we bring a world-class technology team, and we bring a practice of very rapid evolution of our own products. And what we are doing right now is figuring out the products that we bring to the table, plus the products that we're going to kind of take on that are internal to CBRE that the world doesn't yet know a lot about. We're going to push that through our distribution and CBRE's brokerage firms to have a pretty wide impact. What we're going to be a little mum about for now are some of the new ideas that we've actually come up with the CBRE leadership team. Those are some of the things that I'm most excited about over the coming years. Some of the things that I would say the sort of banal thing is to say a startup within a startup. That's a trope that's used post-acquisition, but that's not how I would describe it here. I would say that we are a startup within a giant company that has never really had teams like us embedded before. And I think the bet is that we're going to keep being able to innovate at the same pace. We're going to continue to have great new ideas. We're going to continue to grow our team. We're actually recruiting a pretty solid expansion of our team right now. And the bet is that we're going to be able to keep that pace of innovation high, and by coupling it with a large and open-minded and willing base of employees or contractors who are willing to kind of make this a part of the core CBRE offering, that we're actually going to have success on a far greater scale than we ever would have had by ourselves.
Well, we look forward to those announcements about your new ideas. Hopefully you'll break them on the Meta PropCast. We're speaking with David Eisenberg, founder and CEO of Floored, and now SVP at CBRE. You are listening to the Meta PropCast. I'm Phil Russo, your host. David, you have a great pedigree for entrepreneurship, having come out of Harvard, Bain, being the first hire at Bonobos, among other impressive stops along the way. What led you to real estate and founding a PropTech company?
Yeah, it's not an obvious evolution from management consulting to selling men's clothes on the internet. I was part of an ad tech company just prior to Floored that ultimately was acquired by Twitter. To doing property tech. For me, the thread that flowed through each of these offerings was recognizing the value of personalization within technology, using technology to better personalize experiences. At Bonobos, the idea was that we could conceive of a better shopping experience by giving you terrific customer service that was technology enabled. At Telepart, my previous company, it was about doing personalization at scale. By helping people find the right products to buy at the right time and giving retailers a very cost-effective customer acquisition method. When we came to Floored, what I was really interested in was this technology around 3D printing, this idea that any product could be customized to its end user. I thought that was a really, really big idea. In thinking about what businesses we might start with in 3D printing, I started studying the 3D industry a little bit more. And we realized is that as an input to anything that would be 3D printed, you needed a 3D model. And that really was, I think, the core, it's a somewhat obvious insight, but it was the core kind of idea moment for us in Floored was that we just don't have that many 3D models of things, people, or places in the world. And as we, all lived in New York and we were thinking about how neat it would be to have a 3D model of every property that we wanted to visit, we just started interviewing customers on the residential and commercial side about what they would do in 3D instead of 2D. And the short answer was they would market space differently. They would use the 3D model to show how a space could look differently than it looks today. And with those two kind of customer insights, we germinated some product ideas. And ultimately, the Floored that you see today is a product that is highly tailored to the commercial real estate industry, both on the owner and the tenant side. And really, we do what we set out to do, which was we deliver highly personalized experiences to tenants that really, I think, make the experience of finding space and planning out that space a lot more enjoyable than they were just a few years ago. And so it wasn't a background in real estate. I will say that we added to our team many people who had spent time in commercial real estate to up our domain knowledge, if you will. But I think it was a desire to create new and original and defensible technology with a real market need that is what led to our success.
Well, now you're in a gigantic publicly traded global company. Can you still consider yourself an entrepreneur? What mental and emotional adjustments will you have to make being at CBRE?
Yeah, well, I'm still learning. We've only been there for a week or so, but I will say I've been talking to the folks at CBRE for almost a year now about various partnership ideas. They were a big customer of ours before they decided to acquire us. I will say the culture of CBRE is that of entrepreneurship. And part of that is because so many people at CBRE make their own book of business, and you always have to be creative about how to acquire new customers and retain them. But really, for me, the definition of entrepreneurship is do you make new things for a living, and do you produce new products, and do you conceive of new ways of doing business? And I would say that is our charter 100% at CBRE. It is not, we are not an IT org that is sort of enabling the ongoing maintenance of an existing line of business. We are creating a bunch of new capabilities for the company as a whole. And so in that regard, I absolutely feel like an entrepreneur within CBRE. I think our whole team does. And I think I've just been super impressed with the level of desire for genuine innovation among the leadership team. Not all of that innovation is, of course, technology driven. Some of it is financial innovation. Some of it is strategy, just on the real estate side. But in general, we have been embraced just in a tremendous way about saying, hey, we do a bunch of stuff well. We're the market leader in various areas, but now is not the time to rest. We really want to push the whole industry forward. And that's one of the reasons why, this deal happened, is that we had a aligned vision of what commercial real estate services should look like. And I think we're going to deliver on that.
Well, now, despite being a captive of the corporate world, Do you still feel free enough to venture some predictions on what PropTech will look like in 2017 and beyond?
Oh boy, this is always the most dangerous part of any any interview. Here's some general thoughts. Some of this will be, maybe bite-sized predictions, other ones not. I will say I don't think we are going to be the only transaction like this in 2017, meaning I think there will be more CRE tech companies that see the best future for themselves by partnering in various ways with owners, with large services firms like CBRE. So I think we are going to see some amount of activity on the corporate development front. The second is that I think some of the broader technology trends are going to make their way into products in the commercial real estate world. So I think you're going to see AI permeate various new products. I think you'll see this from both some of the companies that have been started in the past 5 years and now are getting to a level of maturity where they can invest in some real R&D. And I think you'll see it with some new teams that'll come out and will be looking to infuse their products with artificial intelligence. I think you'll see self-driving vehicles on the industrial side, on the commercial side, and of course on the consumer side. I think they'll make their way into some products. I was just reading this morning that there are various tests that are going live as we speak in different markets in Phoenix and in Mountain View. I saw that many of the major car manufacturers are getting involved there. So I think that's going to be a big thing in 2017. And then I think just a general prediction is that there'll be a bunch of volatility this year. I think that we're looking at an increasingly volatile world, and that is, as always, is going to represent both challenges and opportunities. But I think it's a great time to start a company in this category, and I think it's an exciting time to be an operator in this category because you have the chance to reinvent yourself with all of the new technology that's coming out.
Any advice then for those who look at your success and that of Floored and wish to emulate it?
Oh boy, hindsight's always 20/20. But I think the thing that kept us in a solid position when at times I think our technology was a little bit ahead of where the industry wanted to be, I think a strong and relentless focus on the customer's needs, how the customer values your proposition, how the customer perceives a return on investment by spending money with your business. I think that is the best chance that one has of success in the category, is to just be a very customer-oriented organization. I think Amazon is sort of the quintessential customer-oriented company. And in my estimation, CBRE actually does this better than anybody else in the commercial real estate world. So I'm pleased that I think we have our customer orientation, shacked up with theirs, because I think, again, one of the things that you look for when you determine whether one of these mergers is going to be successful is the culture aligned. And in our particular case, I think we have as close to a perfect cultural alignment as you would want to see, between a very big company and a relatively small company.
For years, recruiters used to ask this question when you were being interviewed, and I hated it. So please don't hate me for asking it. But what do you see yourself doing 5 years from now?
Oh man. I guess 5 years ago, I was just thinking about starting Floored. So it's a pretty, in the technology world, 5 years is a really long time, actually. Look, I have a mandate at CBRE to innovate at least over the next 5 years. So I would say there's nothing that I'm considering right now other than kind of executing on this plan, this roadmap internal to CBRE. I'd like to think that the company is entrepreneurial enough that it will support, people like me who are entrepreneurial by nature. I'm certain that it already does. So I don't foresee myself doing anything differently. I will caveat that by saying it's just a really hard world to do predictions in, the technology ecosystem. It's hard enough to predict what's going to happen in 2017 than thinking about 2022. I do appreciate the fact that I think the world is changing at a faster pace than it ever has before, and that is just always going to mean that that new opportunities are popping up left and right. But I think our team is well situated, well motivated, well incentivized, to build a lot of our next great innovation inside of CBRE.
We have been talking with David Eisenberg, formerly CEO and founder of Floored, now acquired by CBRE, where he is and expects to be for the next 5 years at least. David, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This is Philip Russo. Thank you for listening.